Welcome back to another episode of Living in Glenview, the show where we explore everything that makes living in this community so special. I'm Victoria Logley.
I'm Evan Fitzgerald. Whether you've lived here for 30 years or you're brand new Glenvian, trademark living in Glenview. So if you use that, that's trademark to us. This is your insider look to the people, the stories, the local buzz, and everything that defines our town.
Today we're sitting down with Susan Johns, the president of the Glenview History Center. And we're going to be exploring the archives of Glenview, what it takes to run a history center, and some really fun facts about Glenview's history that you may not know about.
And as always, we are recording right here in the Glen at the Social Loft, and we want to give a thank you to Deanna, who allows us to record in this beautiful space every episode. All right, let's go straight into the Glenview Buzz.
Every week we've been exploring one of the new hot restaurants in town. And last week, our team went out for a team lunch to Hakata Ramen House. And the head chef is a Filipino woman who has been studying the art of Japanese ramen making.
Yep.
And it was delicious, I have to say.
Yeah, so this is in the Glen. So it's just, let me get my bearings right. So where we are in the Social Loft, it's just south of us. Mm-hmm. At the sort of the south end of the Glen Town Center. It's a smaller venue, and here's what they say on their website. Welcome to Hakata Ramen House, the best authentic Japanese ramen restaurant in Glenview, Illinois. Located near the Glen, our ramen is crafted using traditional Hakata-style techniques featuring rich tonkotsu pork bone broth simmered for hours to achieve the perfect depth of flavor. And that is interesting because that is one of the things that I tried. So it's like 12 hours. It's their signature. And it was wonderful. I love ramen personally. So, I mean, I was really looking forward to. It's funny, if you've been around the Glen, you've probably seen the signs up for a long time.
Yes, took a while.
And it was one of those, it was the same thing we sort of said about Zenzi Den, where it's like, when is it going to open? So they're finally open.
It's a smaller venue,
yes.
so it, it's intimate. And if you have a big family or a big party, you might need to sort of wait to get seated. But the atmosphere was great. The staff was very attentive.
Yeah.
And the food was wonderful. I'm a vegetarian, and I had the miso ramen, so that and they can make a lot of their dishes vegan or vegetarian.
Right.
So they are vegan and vegetarian friendly.
They actually have a specific vegan ramen if you want that. So that is mushroom broth, tofu, seasonal vegetables, mushrooms, sesame oil. But what they also say that they can do is use that vegan broth in the other options and replace
the pork with like tofu, which is what I had.
Exactly. So it really gives you a lot of options. So I had that signature Hakata ramen. It's a tonkotsu ramen, rich pork bone broth, chasu pork, soft-boiled egg, green onions, nori. I thought that depth of flavor really was evident.
Yeah, you can tell that they've simmered it and worked on it for hours and hours and hours before it's even ready.
Yeah. So I was really happy with it, and some of our other team members tried some different things. So rice bowls. So it's not, if you have family that's not necessarily into ramen, like my son in a million years, I could never get him to
or
try.
gluten free.
Yeah.
Right.
So they have other options for you. I'm looking at, I mean, there are sides, rice bowls.
Easy
it's just,
for carry out.
Yeah.
Ramen carries out so easily, and it's still delicious even when you get it home.
Yeah. So, so what are we rating this week? So we've done pepperonis. We've done, let's see. I'm going to rate it in, let me see. What do they got on the menu? I'm going to pick something good. Edamames. We're going to rate it in out of 4 edamames.
I thought it was wonderful. I would give it a 3.5 edamame.
I'm going to give it a 3.75 edamames. I was really happy.
Really good. You should definitely check it out.
Yeah. And again, remember, it's small. It's an intimate space, but
perfect for carry out.
And I think what's nice for me is to see another restaurant come into the Glen and get off to such a good start.
Absolutely.
Right? Because it's good for the community. It's good for the town center. So just nice to see. So
absolutely. Check
thumbs
it out.
up, 3.75 and 3.5 edamames. You need to clear your calendar for July 25th and 26th because Greek Fest is officially back at St. Peter and Paul Greek Orthodox Church on Wagner Road. All right, Victoria, listen to the actual stats on this because
It's mind-blowing.
Yeah. All right. 875 pounds of chicken and pork on skewers, 365 pounds of rice, 12,000 fresh fried Greek donuts, and they're roasting 6 whole lambs on spits each day.
Well, that's absolutely insane amount of food. And I'm in it just for the donuts personally, especially since you can get them with Nutella drizzle. We're a huge Nutella family. They're also debuting a Greek market called the Agora with vendors selling authentic products and jewelry. Admission's free, but a pro tip for you and everyone listening, park at Loyola Academy and take the shuttle over because parking on Wagner is going to be very challenging. And if you haven't had enough festival fix and you want to add more to it for that weekend, you could head right over to my neck of the woods in the Glen at Art in the Glen. It's also running July 25th and 26th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Glen Town Center. This is actually the 23rd year, which makes it one of the most established community traditions.
And that's kind of mind-blowing. It took us a minute to confirm that because we were like, it can't be.
Really? 23 years?
So this year you've got 130 juried artists from all over the country showing paintings, sculptures, photography, and jewelry.
And jewelry, the earrings I'm wearing are from there, and my bracelet. I love getting artisan jewelry that's unique at art festivals.
Plus there's a live music stage, big kids art zone with spin art, and it's all totally free to get in and park.
It's going to be the ultimate Glenview weekend.
And joining us as our guest today is Susan Johns from the Glenview History Center. She's the keeper of the town's secrets, the driving force behind preserving our history, and she's right here with us to give us the real behind-the-scenes story of Glenview.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We want to dive into the archives and the history behind the Hibbard Library, and if you could please dive in and just give us some good juicy details
about Glenview history in general, or the Glenview History Center.
Let's start with the Glenview History Center.
Yeah.
Okay, the Glenview History Center started out as the Glenview Area Historical Society in 1965,
Right.
And we acquired the farmhouse, the Hutchings farmhouse, that is our museum, in 1967 from the last residents who lived there.
Wow.
The farmhouse itself dates to 1864.
It's a landmark building.
It's a landmark building. The Hutchings family owned it. It is one of only 3 or 4 landmark buildings in Glenview with a Glenview landmark. The Grove is a national historic landmark. It was built on that location in 1864 by the Hutchings family. They were English immigrants to the area. Sarah and her husband and their children. Her husband went off to the gold rush and unfortunately died en route. And she had the farmhouse built while 2 of her sons were fighting in the Union Army.
Wow.
And they came back to Glenview. So it is there on its original location. That was where it was built. We say that because a lot of people moved houses in Glenview.
Right.
There were houses of that era that
picked up and moved over to the other side of town.
Which was much easier when you didn't have plumbing and electricity.
Or a basement.
Right.
So it stands where it was built. And so it has that great history to it. And you pass it on Waukegan. It's our yellow farmhouse.
I've been there. It's incredible.
And the Hibbard Library, actually, it's a coach house building designed to look like it goes with the property, but it was purpose-built in the 1980s as a place to house our archives. We have photographs, newspapers, artifacts of all sorts that we store there, that we use for research. So it's a great spot to be. We're there on Tuesdays and Sundays in the warmer weather. And we always encourage people to contact us.
So Tuesdays and Sundays, it's available for the general public to come in.
We're open to the general public. Tuesdays from 1 to 5 and Sundays from 1 to 4 while the weather's nice. Obviously, it gets a little harder to clear snow on a Sunday afternoon.
Right. And if someone wanted to have like a special group or a separate availability, that's
just contact us and we'll set up a time, an appointment, and to visit either the museum or the library to do research or both.
There's got to be a million amazing stories you've come across. What is there one that was the biggest wow moment for you?
or two.
Yeah, or two. Yeah, we have time.
Yeah, you know, we are always learning about Glenview's history ourselves. You know, people ask questions, and that leads us down. And my background is in research, so that's what I really love to do. And you know, I've been in the 1920s a lot recently.
Okay.
So those
Prohibition?
Prohibition
Was big here in Glenview.
So many taverns and restaurants that opened in the 20s.
Underground.
Which
surprising.
A lot of mobs. A lot of the mob.
And technically some of them were outside the village limits. We ended at East Lake Ave at the time. But they were named as Glenview because that was the closest.
Sure.
So that just astonishes me. And there was actually a Prohibition raid at a place on Waukegan that was within Glenview village limits. And it was the largest raid on alcohol in the Chicagoland area.
Oh,
Something
wow.
like $12,000 worth of liquor.
Oh my gosh.
In
In the 1920s, could you imagine?
Yeah.
And that's a lot. And so that threw me. And then I did a presentation on sports in Glenview in the 1920s. And we had a semi-pro baseball team at the time. And there was one article about 1,400 people coming out for a baseball game.
Oh, wow.
They played the House of David, which was this religious organization that had a very good baseball team. But 1,400 people at a time when the Glenview population was around 800.
And where do they hold it?
So
Where was it
at that
held?
point, the ball field was at the corner of Waukegan and Lake.
Oh.
It had moved around a couple of times. It had been in the River Drive area,
Right.
but they moved it over there in the early 20s. And yeah, so that just astonished me. Who are these
Where are these
1,400
people?
coming out to a ball game?
We had almost 1,400 people for my son's Patriots game last night, or 14.
And was there
In
a
my-
local band? Did
yes.
the opposing team bring a band?
Yeah,
with
it was.
them?
Yeah, there was a band, and everybody had big, long, curly mustaches. It was remarkable. Yeah.
So that era, reading about that era has really been eye-opening.
Prohibition in sports in the 1920s has been a big shocker and sort of
just
interesting.
how much was going on in this. At the same time, Glen Oak Acres was developing, and they were promoting, building your house there as come build your house out in the country. So you get this sort of
farmland forever.
So it's this odd juxtaposition, which I find really fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned that your background's in research, so sort of give us a little bit of your story and how you ended up in this role.
And in Glenview, too.
Yeah.
Because you live in Glenview.
Yes, I am a transplant. I moved to Glenview in 2002, so I've been here for a while now, but by no means an old timer in the
Right.
scheme of history.
Right.
And my my degree is in history, and I did research when I was a graduate student, and then I worked in documentary editing.
Oh.
Written documentary.
Yeah.
So I was one who researched the footnotes. And it's so much easier to research now than it was then. There's so much more online. So I do really enjoy that. And I'm a member of Glenview Community Church, and when they were starting to plan for the celebration of their 75th anniversary, which is in 2016,
Wow.
some folks there decided that they would pull together all the documents and photographs and everything that the church had in various cupboards and closets and whatever, and build an archive. And they were looking for volunteers.
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, that sounds great. That's my background. I could really get into that." And then at the time, Reverend Bob Warskow, who was a longtime Glenview resident and minister at the church, retired, was president of the Glenview History Center.
Okay.
So I stepped into one element of history, and then
It evolved.
That's funny, yeah.
The volunteer opportunity evolves into an incredible job.
And Bev Dawson, who was also part of the Glenview Community Archives Project, was also at the History Center. So I think they saw fresh meat and reeled me in.
Well, you mentioned something that I think is fascinating, because it is so much easier to research all this stuff at home, on your phone, on your tablet, but it's still so important to have this physical space where you can keep this archive. Can you kind of speak to the importance of that?
There is a lot online now, as I said, which I appreciate, but there is a lot still that is not digitized. We have hard copies of the Glenview announcements that go back to the 70s. There's microfilm of the Glenview announcements at the library that goes back farther than that. We also have some other local papers. They're not indexed. They're not archived. So sometimes it's needle in a haystack, but there's lots of information there.
Is a goal of yours to try and index that and put them, make them digital, so that God forbid, right? Like
it is. There's an unending to-do list of things that, and sure, that is the goal, is to have all those things easily indexed and searchable.
Sure.
We did just have a volunteer who built a database out of some old building permit books that we have that date from the post-war, late 40s to into the 50s. They're handwritten in these little notebooks. A little diagram of the lot and the house and who the contractor was. And they were, they're just there. And so now we have a database that has all the addresses and the names and things like that, so you can search it.
How difficult is it to preserve all of these documents? Because,
paper
to keep them,
and
paper is a challenge. It is. And that is why the move to try and digitize things.
Yeah. Sure.
We have old phone books and they're literally disintegrating. There are not many pages in a phone book from 1920 something.
Right.
But,
kids, phone books is what they used to use that had everybody's telephone number in it, so you could
Google
reach them.
Or look in your contact list. Yes. So paper. So we have storage facilities. We're always getting archival boxes, archival folders. They're not inexpensive to store things properly. They have to be acid free. They have to be in the right temperature. They have to be in the right humidity. And we're always taking things in still.
And are those preserved at the library or at the History Center? Because the library...
Most of those are at the History Center. The library does have a genealogy and local history room. And we've been very fortunate to have the genealogy and local history library supervisor on our board and at the Hibbard Library for many years now, which has been a really good connection. So archiving is an ongoing challenge, but one that's what we're there to do.
Necessary.
And then we have things like clothing, which is a different different thing to store, and actual objects, whether it's an iron or...
I mean, there's just a tactile nature to that is just like, I feel really important to be able to have for the future generations. That it's different than just looking at an iron on a phone and going, oh, okay, that's an old iron.
Oh, and even looking at an old newspaper, there's something about it being physically in front of you that's engaging in a absolutely way than
absolutely important for generations to have that piece of
newspapers
history.
Back when they came in paper.
Came in paper. And that's where the information of the day, kids, was cataloged for you to know what was going on. I'd imagine that, like, over the years, people come in, they're looking for information maybe on their home, their historic homes and things. Are there some really interesting things people have found that maybe they didn't even expect?
Sometimes, I can't think of one, big aha moment, and usually people come with a little sense of, somebody told me that my house might have been a restaurant. Okay, let's look into that. And sure enough, that explains why it's set up this way. Yes, it was a restaurant in the 1920s. And then there's the occasional, well, do we tell the owner that the obituary for the first resident said he died in the home? Or do we skip over that part? Some people don't mind.
Want to know,
Other people don't want to know. But there are some historic houses that go way back, and we were very fortunate to acquire some former real estate firms, morgues, back when they used to print listings on paper. And so we have those filed by street address, and sometimes it's really fun to look at a listing for a house sale in 1947 and see what the price was and what the taxes were and what the house looked like at the time. Does it look the same? Has it been changed?
That's always so interesting to me. I mean, even when we deal with clients who are maybe not even looking at historic houses, and you don't realize what's been done over the years. I've got to imagine that some of these more historic houses, it's almost unrecognizable.
Sometimes they are, and sometimes sometimes a porch was enclosed.
Sure.
Or even my own home, which was built in the early 60s, somehow had I would say sort of a southwestern vibe to it, with the posts and the shutter.
Oh, sure.
Like,
Southwestern.
Where were we going with that?
No, I get it. Our house was built in 58, and it was just a small 3-bed duplex down. No, not duplex down. Help me, my brain's frying. Split level. Thank you. That's what I'm talking about. So it was just a small 3-bed split. And in the 70s, they built out the garage. They built behind the garage. They built over the garage. They put bedrooms up there. I mean, it's a completely different house. And so we've sort of over the years found, in parts of the garage, you could see where kids signed little things, and there's just like little hints and things as you go through. But we really honestly have no idea when things were actually completed and how and things like that. And so it's fascinating.
And if it's an older house, that is still very hard to document because there wasn't a permitting system. So people just built.
Right.
And we have, the Hutchings farmhouse is in the same way. There's a etching in the basement of OLPH.
Oh, cool.
The early version of OLPH. Somebody scratched into the concrete down there. And we know, given its era, 1864, that the kitchen that exists now is not original. It was added at some time. And there are historic architectural historians who, can look at a house and how it's structured to say, oh, this was probably added on then, and this was and having those pictures to go back to helps too. You can sometimes see the
that looks like that might be
right? Before they added the second floor or closed in the porch
that's fun.
So we're recording here today in the Glen, which was the old Navy Air Base. There's so much history here in the Glen, and so much has happened in the evolution of the Glen. I've been selling homes here for almost from the beginning, if you will. And I just, if you could kind of tell our viewers and explain sort of how the Glen became the Glen and the historical significance, because it's a huge. It's so
enormously significant, not just to Glenview, but to our nation.
Yes.
That this was Naval Air Station Glenview, and it started before World War II as an expansion of Naval Reserve. They needed more space, and we had this airfield here that was built in 1929. Opened just before the stock market crash. So we say it's one of those could have
ran out of money.
Well, it opened. It was a big splash, but the thought was that this would be a big commercial airport. We could have been
O'Hare. Oh my goodness,
wouldn't that have been very different?
Yeah.
But stock market crash, and then in the 30s it was mostly air shows. The Navy started leasing property, and then of course with World War II took it over, expanded it. It became Naval Air Station Glenview, and this is where they trained Navy pilots to land on aircraft carriers. This is where they were based. The carriers
in the entire country,
because we were inland. They couldn't do this training out in the oceans, and so this is where that.
But we have access to
access to water. We had an airfield, so thus that story, which has national importance to how we fought in World War II.
Yeah,
and then the Naval Air Station was here until 1995. Every branch of the military kind of came through. We had a Coast Guard station here. And they were here actually until 96. So the Naval Air Station had huge impact. And there are a lot of people who remember it as such when they lived in Glenview, and they remember going to the air shows that they had at the base. But then there are a lot of people who don't have a frame of reference for it. Myself included. I moved here in 2002 as it was all being redeveloped. And so I don't have memories of the air shows and all that, but I can still understand the significance of Naval Air Station.
And I love that the tower was preserved.
Yes, absolutely.
That is so. I bring the kids and we walk and they just love staring at it and like looking up and kind of like envisioning. But it's so meaningful, I think, to have that there, and that they took the time and the thought to make sure that history was preserved.
Can you explain what the tower is for those people that might not know?
The tower is the last remaining piece of what was the main air hangar when it was Curtis, when it was first established. And so that remains, and the buildings to the side of the tower are replicas of what the structure looked like. So there's that bit. And what I would say to people about the Glen, it was a huge redevelopment project, over 1,000 acres.
Yes.
That it now has housing and commercial.
It is beautiful.
And our Air Station Prairie and Gallery Park. And the nods to the history are there, and I would encourage people to look for them.
Yeah.
And it's the tower, it's the street names. There's Sable and Wolverine back there in the town
Kitty
center.
Hawk, Saratoga. Those are all. I mean, I live in those neighborhoods. It's Annapolis.
I
Right?
think sometimes we forget that Gallery Park. It
Yes.
sounds like gallery. Oh, nice views, but it's named after Admiral Gallery.
Right.
Yeah.
And Schramm Memorial Chapel.
Same.
So these pieces of history are there, and I encourage people to look for them.
And doesn't the History Center hold an engine as well that was extracted from Lake Michigan? So that's
we do.
how do you?
I am not a military plane.
No.
I'm learning. I'm still learning.
Right, but just for the.
It is apparently an Avenger engine, which was a type of plane in World War II. There are about, I want to say, they said there were some 200 accidents and 128 planes that went into the lake.
Right.
And 40 some odd of them were this type of Grumman Avenger plane.
Okay.
And so, yes, this engine came out of the lake. There's still
There's
planes
still,
in
yeah.
the lake.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Some have been removed, and technically they're still Navy property. But some have been removed and rehabbed, and yes, we have this engine, one of the many planes that went into.
Is
the
it
lake
at the actual building? No.
So in December, I believe it was December, we acquired the Hangar One Foundation's collection. They have been an organization for some 30 years preserving this history of the Naval Air Station and things, artifacts that represent it. And so we acquired their collection, and we're currently finding places for it until we can find a more permanent space to display them and share them with the community. They had their small museum over on Lehigh Avenue.
The preservation of the engines and you taking over Hangar One and all of these artifacts and the building itself obviously is there's a lot of expenses incurred when maintaining such a large historical significantly building and all of the things that go along with it. How are you funded?
So we are a 501c3 not-for-profit organization
Okay.
From our founding. And we have been funded by contributions, donors, memberships, bequests, gifts. That is how we fund. We were very fortunate. A few years back, we entered into a partnership with the village and the library, and the village actually helped us out with some capital improvement projects, a lot of deferred maintenance on the farmhouse.
Yeah.
Because as a small not-for-profit, we were raising enough to fund our operating budget and keep the lights on, but bigger projects like roof repairs and foundation repairs. And with the house built in 1864,
I can only imagine.
you start one project, you find two others.
Sure, of course. We all know how those renovations go.
So we were very fortunate that the village helped us out with those capital improvement projects. And now the library is helping us out with some staffing. We have a professional curator who is actually an employee of the Glenview Public Library. But our operating budget and our ongoing capital needs, because everybody knows that they continue, is still funded by voluntary contributions.
Okay.
We are a membership organization, but we're starting to have conversations about what that means to people. It's a different era, and I understand that being a member of an organization comes with some sort of weight to some people. It doesn't have to.
And if one wanted to become a member of the, how would they?
You look at our website, you give us a call, you can join that way. And being a member simply means that we're an organization with a constitution and bylaws. You get a vote at our annual meeting.
That's wonderful.
Okay.
But you don't have to be a member to support Glenview History Center.
You can make a donation.
You can make a donation. You can be a supporter. You can be a volunteer.
Do you have fundraisers?
We are working on that now.
Wonderful. Please tell us about the fundraiser and when it is and how we can support.
So actually our fiscal year runs from September 1 to August 31st.
Okay.
So we're talking now about an annual fund drive for obviously our annual fund.
Yes.
As opposed to our capital improvement fund and hopefully eventually a long-term endowment fund.
Great.
But so we'll be rolling that out, and we do need the community to support us. We are a community organization. We are in the business of providing information
And preserving, an incredible piece of our history.
So we say it is our mission to be a dedicated resource for Glenview history, and truly from our mission statement, honor and engage with the diverse stories that add to our understanding of our community. So that's everybody. And, we greatly appreciate community support, and we can't do it without that.
Yes.
We try to run a pretty lean budget.
Okay. And we will include a link. So however you're watching this, we will include a link to make a donation to the Glenview History Center. Yes, of course. Absolutely.
We love people to get, we encourage people to come and visit, to ask us questions. We will try and answer them as best as we can, or to get involved if you would like to volunteer. We're always looking for that as well.
And that sort of ties into, I know you've talked in the past about, history and the way that ties into civic identity and community. Mm-hmm. Can you sort of speak to that?
I think, if Glenview is the place you live,
yes,
it's more than that, right? Glenview is a community, and our history is what makes it the community
foundation
that it is. So that's where that goes back to, and we want people to have that sense of place and belonging, and that our current residents are contributing to the history of Glenview.
For the future.
The future, exactly. And Glenview is such a fascinating community,
really,
and there's so many, different stories, and I think that's really what makes Glenview what it is.
Special.
So we want people to connect to that and to feel a part of this community, and that they're continuing.
The story of Glenview.
Of what Glenview is, and how it became to be, and how we got here, and who we are.
Yeah. Everybody knows that we're in real estate, and that, I'm obsessed with all the various neighborhoods in Glenview and the history behind them. And I know last year you guys did a village flashback series with the voice of Glenview, David Just. And it's just so fascinating to me, and the history behind some of these neighborhoods. You touched upon a little bit with Glen Oak Acres. I mean, can you just kind of speak to just some little tidbits on the history behind some of our neighborhoods?
That is one of the really interesting things about Glenview, is that Glenview has these identifiable neighborhoods. And even ones that don't have a name per se. Sometimes they have their own community, and we've had questions about
Dews, Linneman, and Henley. I just called the Dews, Linneman, and Henley.
And they do.
Right?
If you go back in the old plat books, they do have a subdivision name, but obviously we have a lot that people see now and know.
Tall Trees,
Glen Oak Acres, Swainwood,
Circles,
the Circles, which is one of the earlier developments in the 20s.
Yes.
Or actually, I would say that what we call the park, which is by the new church, was one of the earliest planned developments in Glenview.
Oh, the park was.
The park was. It was the Church of New Jerusalem, and they came out to the country from Chicago, and they sold these narrow little individual lots you could buy kind of one at a time until you got enough to build your house on. And the map of that is very interesting. You see how it was plotted up. Swainwood.
Tree Farm.
Tree Farm, the Swain Nelson Nursery, which also Tall Trees and Sleepy Hollow area are on. But Swainwood was actually, the Swain Nelson Nursery developed a real estate company to sell that.
Yes.
Tall Trees, while it was on their property, was developed by a different company. So they all have these little identities. A man named George Nixon was very responsible for developing kind of East Glenview, which was near the Glen Air Station at the time, which no longer exists, but you can kind of see where it was. What
about the Village of Golf?
The Village
of Golf is so interesting to me.
We sometimes claim them because
they have a train station, they have a post office, and they have, I think, one police person.
And the story goes that it is called Golf because
golf course.
Because of the golf course, and because a member who was affiliated with the train line.
Yes.
He had his own car that would come out and would stop at a little siding, and he would say he was going to golf.
Oh.
Right.
And so, golf as a village was born.
Yes, absolutely. Chicago businessman that came up to
exactly
golf in the country.
Yeah, we have a long history of golf courses as well.
Yes.
Many golf courses
Absolutely.
here in Glenview, or one in golf
Right.
that has the name Glenview.
Of course.
Can you speak kind of generally to the progression of Glenview over time, right? Because we kind of know that big picture, it sort of developed east to west, sort of, right? Because
No, not necessarily.
Well,
Well, just, I mean, sort of
well,
at the
no.
same time.
Well, east to west because east was closer
That's
to the
what I-
transit.
that's what
to
I
the
meant,
transit,
yeah.
right?
Yes, to the train.
But downtown Glenview,
Yeah.
also because it was the train station which came through in the 1870s after the Chicago fire. They
Yes.
the tracks through here, but it was a farm community.
Right.
A lot of first English immigrants, then German immigrants, farm families, big farms, and then
That was a little further west because
that was
that's
further
where,
west, and
Yeah.
then and then farmland got sold off over time. But a lot of the things, Glenbrook South, the hospital, those are all on what was somebody's farm
Right.
at one point in time. So yeah, it's a very, very mixed development, and sometimes those farm families would sell off the land, subdivide it, and then you get a neighborhood.
One other thing I find fascinating, because I hear the old timers or old school people say Glenview and they pause. Okay. Could you, so the original name of Glenview was Glen and View, two separate words.
It's an interesting history. Technically, in Glenview's incorporation papers, it's one word.
Okay.
As the village was incorporated, it
One
was
word.
incorporated as Glenview, one word. And then we have the Glenview House,
Right.
which historically had it as two separate
Yeah.
words. The newspapers of the time are all over the place.
Okay.
Sometimes it's two words, sometimes it's one word.
Fair enough.
And I find it fascinating that has continued to this
Absolutely.
day. There are if
I
you
can hear it.
listen,
I can
you
hear
can
when people
hear
say
it. Some people
Glenview.
say
They
Glenview,
pause.
and some people say Glenview.
Right.
And so
Okay, but it
I think
was
we kept that,
officially-
we kept that tradition alive of whether it's
That's fair enough.
one or two, but in the founding
It
documents,
was
it's
one
Glenview,
word. So okay. Good to know that was the official name
That's
of
the official, but to each their own.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, to each their own. Susan, thank you so much for joining us today and really giving us a true understanding of how important it is in the preservation and the civic identity of the Glenview History Center. And thank you for everything that you're doing and your organization to impart that knowledge and preserve that knowledge on our community.
Thank you for having me.
As always, thank you for listening and watching. If you love the show, and I know you do, please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you're listening or watching. It does really help other Glenview neighbors find us.
And until next time, I'm Victoria Logley.
I'm Evan Fitzgerald, and we'll see you the next time.